What's up, guys? My name's Tilly, and I am not here to entertain you. I'm here to shoot a little bit of wisdom in your ear. But first of all, I'm going to start off by explaining to you who I am and some of the things that I've been through so that you know that when I speak, I'm not full of shit. This is for future videos so that my words, stick and have some meaning. I'm from California, Riverside. I'm 40 years old. I was born in 1977. My mother was a biker / crystal meth cook. My father was an alcoholic, whom I did not know until I was 11 years old. I am a product of an affair that my mother had with her best friend's husband, my dad. Great guy. I love him to death. My mom started doing crystal meth with me when I was 14. And I was addicted to it from pretty steady from the time I was 15 until I was 18. And she was abusive, verbally, emotionally, and physically sometimes. Left me with people all the time, strangers. She would go out and drink and, raise hell and be with all these different men. And I have some pretty harsh memories of that, missing her and, things like that. When I was 19, I got pregnant with my son, who is now 21. Very proud of him. He's doing very well. I got pregnant. I had my son. His father was also a drug dealer. And I left when he was 7 months old, and I moved to Wisconsin to be with my first love, who was also from California, and I grew up with him. Got married, had another child, was pregnant when I was 21 with my second, whom I'm also very proud of. He is now 19. Pain in my ass, but I love him. My first marriage was pretty bad. He was also an alcoholic and abusive, spit in my face, called me names, ripped up my clothes, left me for days with no money, no access to any money, no job. He didn't want me to have a driver's license, very controlling. And eventually, after 6 years, I found the strength to leave, and I moved to Florida. That's where all my big adventures began. It was a very difficult time for me because I moved out here to be closer to my mom's side of the family because my mother moved from California when her and my dad split. She moved to Florida to take care of my grandmother because she had dementia and Alzheimer's, to help my aunt. And ultimately, they're military. That's how I ended up here. Well, when I got here, let me backtrack a little bit. I took my youngest son with me, or my oldest son with me, sorry, when I left, because my ex-husband had no claims on him. He wasn't on his birth certificate. So I was able to take him with me. He was 5 years old. My youngest was 3. And my husband and his brother threatened me and told me that if I left the state of Wisconsin and took my youngest son with me, that, they would follow me, they would find me, and they'd kill me. So I called a lawyer, and being ignorant to the law as I was, I asked the lawyer, if I leave with my son, will I go to jail? And he said, yes, it's kidnapping. He said, are you in the process of a divorce? well, you know, in my naive, unseasoned mind, I mean, I was only 23, 24, in the process meant, you know, are you gonna get a divorce? Not, have you filed the paperwork already? So I was misled, and I left my son there. He was 3. So I took off, and it was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life, was to leave my youngest child. It was very, very painful. But I did. And when I got here, I was going through a lot of turmoil inside, missing my son and going through a messy divorce, and my 5-year-old had to endure that, you know, and I got off on the wrong track. I mean, there would be times that I would cry for hours at a time till I was throwing up, had headaches. I missed my son so much. So ultimately, I did what I was used to doing, and that would be drinking and doing drugs to ease the pain of all of that. And so I did that. And I got caught in a black hole, and I met a sociopath shortly after I was here in Florida, whom I was with for a year and a half. Ultimately, he tried to kill me, and I had to put him in jail. He held me hostage for three and a half hours approximately at knife point, ripped all my clothes off of me, threatened me with a knife, stalked me. It was bad. In all of this process of me putting my oldest son on a back burner to deal with the pain that I was dealing with and not thinking about him, because that's not, you know, I wasn't used to that. I didn't have parents that taught me how to deal with certain things, so I had to deal with them on my own, and the only way I knew how was substance abuse. So I did that, and in the process, my son was with my mom and my aunt a lot, and she convinced me to give custody of him up. He was 7 years old, and I gave custody to my cousin. She was a wonderful lady. Her and her husband were married for 25 years, and retired military. But my mother ultimately is the one that convinced me to, you know, instead of encouraging me to get my life together and get rid of this person that I was with, and, you know, at that time I was dancing. I was a stripper. I was drinking constantly. I had to stay intoxicated to do the job. But she ultimately convinced me to do that for my son. She gave her children up. My sisters, she gave them up when they were babies, so she was just doing what she thought was right and normal, you know, to do. There's a pattern, you know, when you grow up in this kind of environment, you tend to mimic the pattern of your parents and things like that. So she ultimately convinced me to do this. Looking back now, I wish that I never had. But I did. And to look into my 7-year-old's eyes and have him cry and hold on to my leg and beg me not to make him go was one of the second hardest thing I've ever done. The first was walking away from my 3-year-old, and the second was to watch my son cry and beg me not to leave him or put him in the car. But I did. And the night I did that, when I signed the papers, I went to the notary and I signed the papers over to my cousin, and I felt like I had nothing left to live for. I had no will to live after that. My son was everything to me, but I was so lost in my own pain that I couldn't see what it was doing to him. Sorry, this is painful for me, guys. Anyway, so I signed the papers that night after he left and he was on his way to Georgia to his new life. I would have given anything to find a bottle of pills or a gun, anything to stop the pain. But ultimately I didn't, thank God. So I just kept drinking, and I continued in this cycle that I was in, of partying and drinking and sex and all of the things that go along with that emptiness that you feel, you know, when you have no support. All I really had was God, you know, and ultimately he was all I needed, but I didn't know it. You know, if I didn't have my faith that was ingrained into me when I was little, but only because of my grandmother. Every now and then I would get to go to church with her, and that was when I felt safe, was with my granny, you know, when we would go to church. Not very often at all, but we did get to go sometimes. So I continued on this path. Well, one night, when I was at work at the strip club, I was, you know, doing my normal routine. You know, I'd get to work and I would drink excessively, and I got to the point where, you know, 3 Long Island iced teas, 2 shots of tequila, 3 shots of Jaeger, 3 beers in, I wasn't even drunk, you know, and I wasn't but 105 pounds. So it was getting pretty bad, you know. I was in the locker room, and it was about 11 o'clock. I had a good buzz, but I wasn't wasted. And all of a sudden, I just kind of felt like, you know, I couldn't do this anymore. I was at that point, at this rock bottom, gut-wrenching point. And I sat on the floor, disgusting in there, spilled beer, glitter, makeup, you know, the typical stripper locker room, noise everywhere, drunk women, drunk men everywhere. It was horrible. Anyways, but I'm sitting in this locker room, noise going on all around me, you know, just chatter. And I sat down and I cried, and I said, I cannot do this anymore, God. I cannot live like this anymore. What am I doing? And all of a sudden, this feeling of peace just came over me. And my God said to me, get up, get dressed, walk out, and don't look back, and I will take care of you. And I did. I got dressed, and I grabbed my bag out of my locker, and I was walking out the door, and my manager said, hey, you know, where are you going? And I said, I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. And he said, oh, yeah, you'll be back. Whatever. I'll see you in a couple days. So I did, and I lived, at this time I had a car. I finally got a car. And I would stay with friends, you know, off and on, and in and out of my car and stuff. Well, one night, I was, you know, laying in my car, and I was praying, and I did that a lot. And I asked God, I said, you know, God, I did what you asked me to, you know, and here I am living in my car. I can't find a job, you know, I was working part-time at Ruby Tuesdays, waitressing in the mornings, but it was only like 2 or 3 days a week, just enough to give me gas and food. He told me, you know, to go and check on my application at Walmart. And I said, okay, well, you know, I've already checked, and I argued with him a little bit. You know, me and God do that. I argued with him a little bit, you know. I've already checked on my application like 100 times, God, you know. It's just going to be the same. They're just going to turn it away. Well, anyway, so long story short, I go into Walmart the next day. I go up to the counter and at customer service, and you know how friendly they are. So I go up there and I said, you know, hey, I just wanted to check on my application. I told her the deal, and she's like, well, you know, we have it on file, and, you know, we'll give you a call if anything comes up. Well, I turn around and I'm walking out the door, and one of the greeters, a beautiful, beautiful black woman, just smiling, just beautiful. And she said to me, you know, what shift are you looking for? And I said, well, you know, I kind of need nights because I got a day job. And she said, well, listen, go back up to the counter and ask for, you know, this specific assistant manager. And so I did. And she called her on the intercom, and this manager came down, and she said to me, oh my God, I cannot believe you came in. She's like, I have been looking for somebody to fill that shift in the deli, and you are a godsend. Yeah, that's exactly what she said to me. You are a godsend. All I could do is just kind of look up. I knew that was God. Anyway, so I eventually got the job. Still living in my car, you know, and I'm working and working and working, taking showers at friends' house and stuff. And one day, I got off work and I went to the bar to have a beer. And I'm sitting there, and I just got done, you know, talking to God in my car. Like I said, I always do that. So I got done talking to him, and I go to this bar, and I sit here, and I'm talking to the bartender about my situation. Yeah, man, I've been staying in my car, you know. How you been? You know, she knew me forever. I mean, I've been going to that bar forever. Anyways, this gentleman that was sitting next to me said, hey, you know, you looking for a place to stay? I said, yeah, man. I said, I don't have, you know, much money right now. I just started this job. I haven't even got my first paycheck yet. He goes, well, you know, I got a buddy that has a little 2-bedroom house around the corner for $400 a month. And I'm like, wow, you know. Oh, let me backtrack just a minute. When I was living in my car, my mother's family, yeah, called me. Now, by this time, as many drugs as my mom has done, she's losing her mind. So she's going to Lakeview. She's on all this medication. She's out of her mind, and she's not doing good at all. So, and she's staying with my, you know, her sister and stuff, the ones that were helping take care of my grandmother. She passed away. But anyway, they call me, and they say, you need to come get your mother, because we can't take care of her anymore. You know, we just can't. We can't afford to feed her. You know, she's just, we need you to come get her. And I'm like, really? I'm living in my car, and you people are going to, like, ask me to come get my mother, who abused me my whole life? Just saying. Kind of had that attitude about it, you know, kind of bitter. But I said, you know what? Give me a 1 month. Well, I don't know if we can wait that long, you know, whatever. Anyway, so back to the bar. This guy says to me, you know, tells me about this house, and he says, you know, it's around the corner, $400 a month, 2-bedroom. You want to go look at it? I said, well, I don't have, you know, a deposit or nothing. He said, man, don't even worry about it, man. My buddy gave me the key, and we can go in and we can check it out. And I looked at the bartender, I'm like, you trust this dude, man? Because I don't know this nigga. You know what I'm saying? I don't know him. So, anyway, she's like, yeah, he's good. You know, he's cool. He's all right. So, I go with him. He shows me the house. Cute little house. I mean, it wasn't the greatest house. It was just, but you know what? To me, it was everything. It was everything to me. And he said to me, well, you can move in tomorrow. You know, I'll just call my buddy and tell him you're here. He lives in Orlando. No big deal. So he hands me the key. And y'all, that moment was like, I don't even know how to explain it. He hands me this key, and I'm standing there, and I'm looking at this key in my hand. And I'm like, really, God? So, anyway, I moved in, you know. I called my mom, and I said, look, pack your shit, man. I'm coming to get you. Screw these guys. I got you. I'm going to take care of you. You know, I got this. And I felt so proud of myself. And I was so thankful to God for this little itty-bitty house and this piece of crap car that I had and these 2 jobs. And I felt so proud of myself, you know. Missed my kids like crazy, but I was doing it. And I went and got her. I moved her in, took her to Lakeview, got her meds straightened out. Her mental state started getting better. Helped her file for her disability. You know, it took a long, long time to get her straightened out on her meds and get her money coming in and whatnot. I took care of her for a while. We moved out of that house. We moved into a little bit of a better house. I got a new vehicle. And eventually she moved back in with her sister. You know, she just felt like, you know, I guess she didn't want to, you know, impede on my privacy and, you know, she wanted me to have a life. So she moved back in with her sister. And I met somebody, and I met him at Walmart, actually, when I was working there. And I married him, and we were together for almost 6 years. But I married him for the wrong reasons, because I didn't fix myself. I didn't fix who I was inside. And I wasn't in love with him, but I loved him. I still love him. He's one of my best friends to this day. And, you know, he's just a beautiful person, a beautiful heart, and he's amazing. I love him so much. But he just wasn't the one for me. And I knew it when I was standing there saying my vows in that beautiful dress with the beautiful wedding and all of our friends and family. I knew it. But I just thought, oh, you know, maybe I can learn to love him. Word to the wise. If it's not there in the beginning, and you know what I'm talking about, it's never going to be there. Okay? It's just not. You can't force yourself to be in love with somebody. You can love them with all of your heart and love spending time with them. But if it's not there, it's not there. So anyways, I married this man. And we ended up ultimately divorcing. You know, I ended up cheating on him. You know, I cheated on my first husband. I was broken inside, and I never took the time to fix myself. And there was a hole, and there was something that I couldn't fill, and that nobody could make me happy. Nobody could satisfy me, because I wasn't whole. I was broken, and I was expecting other people to satisfy me, and they couldn't. So that, you know, is what happened. We didn't divorce because I cheated on him. And ultimately, through my last marriage, I did learn that, you know, I came to him several times and told him we need to work on this marriage, or this is going to happen. And ultimately, he just wasn't mature enough and man enough to communicate with me and fix the problems that needed to be fixed. So ultimately, I cheated on him. Plus, I wasn't in love with him. But that was my fault. I married him, and I hurt him for no reason. Part of growing up is owning your shit and being responsible and taking responsibility for what you do in this life and your decisions and the way they affect other people. So anyways, we divorced, and now I am with somebody that I actually met when I was dancing. We were together for 4 years. I was unfaithful to him as well, because like I said, I was broken, and I was dancing when I met him. I wasn't ready. He wasn't ready either, you know. But I've heard a lot of people with, never on purpose, never intentionally, just, if you don't heal yourself first, if you're broken, you're going to break people, because you're going to break yourself on them. You're going to never, you know, not intentionally, but your choices affect other people's lives. And you've got to realize that, you know. Just like my mother's choices affected me and broke me. And my mother's choices, and so on and so forth. every single choice that you make in this life affects other people and affects the outcome of your life. Every single choice, even if the most minute of choices affects your whole entire life. But anyways, we're back together, and we've both grown up a lot, and we're working on things, and we're getting sober together, and we are going back to church, and God is good. He is good, and I feel like this is a new lease on life for me and a new opportunity to be that person that I want to be, and I'm healing myself little by little, taking responsibility for my actions and for my screw-ups, and bettering myself and getting closer to the God that has been there for me through everything. I have been abused by almost everybody that I've ever cared about. But it's my own fault, not theirs. I let it happen because I was broken, and I looked for other broken people to fix my brokenness. And the only one that can fix that is God and me. So that's all I wanted to say. And I'll have another video out, you know, within the next couple weeks. But I just wanted to tell everybody a little bit about who I am and what's going on with me. So in my future videos, when I talk, I have a little bit of ground to stand on. And you guys know who I am a little bit. All right, I appreciate you listening. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day.